Alright, let the hate commence. Let's talk about Venom, Sony's newest Spider-Man spin-off movie that, and I feel safe saying this, that nobody knows if this is still even connected to the MCU or not. Because this movie has no hints or anything to anything else besides the fact that this is its own movie. I saw no hints from anything, so this might literally be a one-off thing, and I've heard discussions between the producers at Sony and Marvel, and it's like they both say opposite things, so nobody understands if this is connected to that or not. So with that out of the way, with the Venom thing out of the way, like, that we don't know if it's connected or not to any of them, I enjoyed this movie. I don't care. I thought this movie was not awful. And people are going to say that this is garbage. There was reviews that said it was Catwoman level bad, and I thought to myself before I saw this movie, like, what? And then I went and saw this movie. And I can understand why somebody wouldn't like this movie because, in my opinion, I'll put out the negatives first. I think that, besides the fact that we don't know if this is connected to anything else, whatever, the CG is not very good. It's not Marvel level CG, or even the Spider-Man like movies, like Amazing Spider-Mans or Spider-Man Homecoming. It's like it's not even the same CGI, and it's weird because the CGI, and a lot of times, it's not very good, and it's unfortunate because I feel like it's definitely a lower budgeted movie, obviously, because it's its own thing, even though it's called Venom. And the other negative I have is that this has a lot of crappy jokes. That some jokes landed really well, some jokes didn't land well at all. So my biggest issues with this movie is that it's got pretty bad CGI at times, and then the humor sometimes is bad. But despite that, I thought this was a perfectly serviceable movie. Like, it's not anything that is life-changing in terms of Marvel superhero movies, but in terms of fun, in terms of entertainment, this was entertaining for me. I had a fun time. Tom Hardy in this, and I know critics are already giving, even if they don't like this movie, because this movie's been getting negative reception, even the critics that didn't like this movie are giving Tom Hardy his worth, because Tom Hardy is really, really great in this movie. This guy, like, he's already a fantastic actor anyways. There's so many things I love him in, but in this one, for this type of movie, he is pulling off a lot of range and a lot of different things that he has to do because he is also the voice of Venom, so he has to play himself going crazy while he has to play Venom in his voice and how he talks, and he does all these different things that I feel like is something that people should recognize. Like, this guy does a great job in this movie, and I really did dig Tom Hardy in this. I thought he was great. The other characters are fine. They're disposable. Like, Michelle Williams is fine. And Riz Ahmed is just fine, but kind of boring. So it's just one of those movies where it's like, it's one of the Marvel movies where it's like, oh, okay, it's just, well, I mean, it's a Sony movie, but you know what I mean. But it's just, to me, this is not awful. It's just not great. It's not bad, but it's got bad things in it, but it's got some good things in it. I think Tom Hardy is great. I think some of the humor is great, but some of the humor is bad. Some of the CGI is good, and some of the CGI is really bad. So it's a weird mixture of, like, good, bad, and that's what Sony does a lot with their movies, their Spider-Man franchise especially, because they're, like, I do love a majority of the Spider-Man movies, but this one, I feel like out of all these Spider-Man films or films taking place in a Spider-Man universe, this one is my least favorite. Well, I don't know, I'd say that or Spider-Man 3, because Spider-Man 3, I don't know, Spider-Man 3 has a lot of issues too that bug me, but, like, it has good things too, so I don't know. This and Spider-Man 3, the ones with Venom, funny enough, are the ones that I have a lot of issues with, just in terms of, like, being stupid or being good in a lot of parts, but being bad in a lot of parts. So this is definitely one of the weakest ones, but I still had a fun time with it. I still enjoy Tom Hardy. I still enjoyed these actors. The other ones are fine. The story is totally fine. The humor sometimes works. half of the time it works, I'd say. Then half of the time it works, half the time it doesn't. So I feel like people are just gonna rip on this and say it's awful, and I hate the fact that you can't, people anymore cannot give any recognition to anything good or bad. It's like you can't have a middle ground. This to me is a very middle ground. It's got CGI that's bad, CGI that's good, humor that's bad, humor that's good. Tom Hardy's great, the other actors are fine. You see what I mean? It's a mixture of like good and bad. So I don't think that this is awful at all. I think that this is just not amazing. It's totally serviceable. And if you want to talk about Venom, like the Venom in this movie, I'm not the right person to talk to about that because I have read Spider-Man comics, but I have surprisingly not read any that have included Venom. So I am not the person to talk about for the accurate representation of Venom. But I thought that this was totally fine and totally fun, serviceable fluff. Like, it wasn't anything awful, but it wasn't anything great. It was just middle of the road Spider-Man movie because it's in the Spider-Man universe. It's not connected to it, I guess. Again, I don't understand. Like, this movie tries so hard to be disconnected to everything. Like, it's weird. It's a weird thing. So this is a weird hybrid of a movie. Like, I just don't... Like, at first I didn't know what to feel about it, but then I was like, no, I gotta give it its positive worst. Like, it does have things worth it that to see it, at least to me. I think this has things that are worth it. I think that there's things that are fine about it and things that are not good about it. So, again, it's just a mixed bag. It's really not amazing, but it's not terrible. It's got good things and bad things. So, again, just very middle of the road. I thought it was average at best, but that doesn't mean it's not unwatchable. I thought this was definitely watchable. I'd watch it again. Just a weird movie, like, overall. Just a very strange movie, but I think I enjoyed my time with it. So, overall, this one was totally average and serviceable.